Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 2284BN. Today's date is September 23rd, 2020, and the title of the episode is Welcome to the 15th Round, Knockout Coming, Truth and Facts Panic in D.C. Let's talk about your health. After 20 years old, your body will naturally decrease its collagen production by 12% each passing decade. This is a leading reason as to why skin appears thinner and more wrinkled as we age. Aegis Multi-Collagen provides you with the 5 types of collagen your body needs in one complete protein. You'll enjoy powerful support for your body with the results you can see and feel in a few short weeks. Get Aegis Multi-Collagen for 51% off plus free shipping by going to healthwithx22.com. That is healthwithx22.com. Or just click the link below. Let's get into the economic collapse, political, and geopolitical news. Now, before I get started, I just want to make an announcement. I just want to let everyone know that the X22 Report YouTube channel is still in the penalty box. I received a strike on the channel. Hopefully, after September 24th, I'll be able to upload videos to the X22 Report YouTube channel. You can view the videos on x22report.com, or you can join up to the new private server that I put into place. And this is to protect against censorship. Now, today we've seen Twitter, we've seen NPR putting out information that they are going to censor. They want a circuit breaker. Twitter today is saying that they have a bug that they're saying that some people are being locked out of their accounts. I believe this is going to spread as we get closer and closer to the elections and maybe afterwards. So this is why I set up the private server. Now, to join up to the private server, all you have to do is go to the x22report.com site. If you're on the desktop, you'll see a big red banner on top, or you'll see a tab that says X22 Report TV. If you click on that, there are links there where you can subscribe. If you're on your phone or a tablet, you have to scroll down a little bit until you see the red banner, and you can click on the red banner, and that will bring you to a page where you can subscribe, and it'll bring you to another page where you can sign up and get the information. Now, it does cost money. It's $29.99. The way I figured it out is that I calculated the bandwidth, the disk space, and I do 2 videos a day. They're about 1 gig each. That's about 50 gigs a month. So it really turns out to be about 8 cents per person. So that's $29.99 for the entire year. And this goes for the support of the server, the people that are supporting it, and it goes to maintain the server. And that's where this money goes. So if you don't want to go to the private server, you still can view my reports on YouTube, on BitChute, or come over to the x22report.com site. You can listen to the podcast and view the videos. Now, if something happens to all these different platforms and they lock everything down and nobody can see anything, the only place you'll be able to see the videos is on my private servers. And that's why I set it up, to protect myself and to make sure that I have a record of everything that I've done. So if you want to join up, just come over to the x22report.com site, click on the red banner or click on the tab up top. It will bring you to another page. You can subscribe and you can view all the videos on the private server. Now, the Patriots, they are in complete control of the entire situation. The deep state, the mainstream media, the corrupt politicians, they have taken the bait. They walked down the path the Patriots wanted them to walk down, and they're doing exactly what they were instructed to do. Now, remember, the deep state, the corrupt politicians, they thought they had the upper hand. They thought, oh, look, we have event number 1, event number 2. Nothing can stop us. We are in control of the situation. Until they had a wake-up call and the people were no longer believing them. Then they had to start to backtrack on everything that they were talking about. But remember, they are not finished. They realize that all these pieces of the puzzle are starting to come together. And what do I mean by that? Remember, there's different sections of what the Patriots are doing. We have the treason, we have sedition, we have crimes against humanity. We have Julian Assange, that's going to report on the DNC server and the email scandal. We have the Uranium One scandal, the Clinton Foundation. We have all these things coming together, and they realize this. And we know from the Patriot Intelligence Insider, we know that these are on deck. and they're coming hard and fast. We're actually in the 15th round right now, and the gloves are off, and we're expecting a knockout. And we can see it has already started. The Senate has already released the report on Hunter Biden, Joe Biden, and it's not turning out well for them. Remember, this was a conspiracy if you go back to 2015. I remember reporting on this about the whole entire Ukraine regime change and how Hunter Biden, John Kerry, and the rest, they were all involved in Burisma. And back then, the mainstream media wasn't touching it. Actually, today, the mainstream media is not touching it, but everyone called it a conspiracy theory. Even during Trump's impeachment, as they brought out the information and as Rudy Giuliani researched the information, connected the dots, they still called it a conspiracy theory. Now, remember, this is just the start. This is not the end. This is just the Senate giving a report. This is the lead-in to make people question everything. What was he doing? It's not about, oh, it's a slam dunk case. It's about bringing the people into the fold. We're going to see a lot more of this. This is a way to inflict pain on the deep state and have the mainstream media spin the story, because the patriots, they want them to do this. They want them to lie and spin, because each time more and more information comes out and they continue to lie and spin, the people see this. And as more facts and truth come out, there are lies and spin, they don't make sense. And people will see this. People will question it. How do you destroy the mainstream media? You let them do what they do best. But we know the deep state players, they're planning on something in October. The Patriot Intelligence Insider, this individual has been telling us, or a group of people have been telling us that, yes, there is change coming. And I do believe it's going to be Biden who's going to remove himself. Either he's pretending that he has dementia, this way he won't be fit to stand trial, or he actually has dementia and they're going to relieve him of his presidential candidacy and bring in someone else. I do believe that Kamala Harris is also a problem. And I did an exclusive report on the private server because I tried to mention this on YouTube, and they gave me a warning not to mention that again. So I believe there might be a replacement of two individuals. And it seems that Barack Obama sent out a very strange tweet. And it seems that they're trying to get a feel of how they should approach pushing in Michelle Obama. Now, once again, I'm reading into this, and this is the tweet. All right, let's try something new, he says. If you're in the United States, send me a text. It gives the phone number. I want to hear how you're doing, what's on your mind, and how you're planning on voting this year. I find that very interesting. And then he says, I'll be in touch from time to time to share what's on my mind, too. Now, that is very interesting. Now, it's either he's trying to get a feel of what people really want, and they want everyone to text him, or he's waiting for a specific text to respond to someone else. And we'll have to see how this plays out. But the deep state, what they're doing right now is they are projecting, because like I said before, all these different cases are all coming together. And in the case of Julian Assange, they don't want him back here in the United States. And we've been hearing stories that Julian Assange's health is bad, he's not doing well, and now CBS is out there and they're projecting that Julian Assange is at very high risk of suicide attempt. Now think about this for a second. Who knows it all about what happened with Seth Rich, with the DNC server? He never said it was Russia. Would they want to get rid of him? Yes. Would they want to get rid of Epstein? Remember, Epstein didn't kill himself. So why did CBS put this out here? Are they projecting? Because if something happens, what are they going to call it? The same thing they did with Epstein. They're going to say it was a suicide. Now, do I think this is going to happen? Hopefully not. Hopefully he is protected, which I do believe he is protected, because the Patriot Intelligence Insider has told us that Julian Assange, the source, is protected. But I believe what they're trying to do is they're trying to shut down all these different cases that are going on because they know they're all coming together at once. And this is going to be very difficult. I do believe the Patriots already know this. They already know the playbook, and they already know that they will try to make this move. Just like with Ghislaine Maxwell, this is why Trump was tweeting out, I hope nothing happens to her, when she was brought into the prison, and she is being kept very, very safe this time. Yes, with cameras and everything else. And I think the same thing is happening with Julian Assange. Now, Trump has always said that he does not like mail-in voting. There's a lot of fraud wrapped around this, and we all know that there is. We know that you can take all the ballots, you can dump them, you can hide them. We've seen it before in many other cases. You can mail out ballots to anyone. If someone is renting and people have lived there, 2 years here, 2 years next year, then 2 years, you can get 3, 4, 5 different ballots for the people that lived in that house because there is no record or anything. They're just going to mail it out. You're not requesting it. It's a mass mailing. It's almost like receiving the coupon book, where it says resident. But what's very interesting is that 2 trays of U.S. mail were discovered in a ditch near Greenville. Now, what were these? These were mail-in ballots. They were absentee ballots, all mixed together. And this mail was immediately turned over to the Postal Service. Now, who was trying to hide this? Who dumped this? And this is what Trump and many others have been talking about. And we've seen this in Paterson, New Jersey. We've seen it in New York. We've seen a dump truck or a garbage truck dump mail in a back alley behind a salon. We've seen this happen many, many times. Can you imagine what's going to happen with all these mail-in ballots? This is why you need to go to the polls. If there could be riots, if there could be protests, if Nancy Pelosi can go to the salon and not wear a mask and go to a salon that is actually closed and get her hair done, you can go to the voting booth. If Joe Biden, who thinks he's off camera, can walk up to Anderson Cooper and whisper in his ear, we can go to the voting booth. And Trump tweeted this out. Very important that in order to watch the all are following the rules and regulations, you become an election official at your local polling place. Go sign up now to monitor what's been going on. So I think what he's saying here is that all patriots who aren't trusting of those individuals at these polling places, we need to monitor these areas and point out strange, suspicious activity. So if you see something, say something. Now, very interestingly, Trump, a couple days ago, maybe even a week ago, he banned the efforts to indoctrinate government employees with divisive and harmful sex and race bias ideologies. And he has stopped this. And an individual named Christopher Rufo, he called out the CDC saying that they did not stop. And now it seems that he's saying this is completely banned. And this is what he tweeted out. A few weeks ago, I banned efforts to indoctrinate government employees with divisive and harmful sex and race bias ideologies. Today, I've expanded that ban to people and companies that do business with our country. The United States military, government contractors, and grantees. Americans should be taught to take pride in our great country, and if you don't, there's nothing in it for you. And Christopher Rufo, he tweeted this out. Victory. The president has just signed a full executive order abolishing critical race theory from the federal government, the military, and all federal contractors. The president has effectively declared war on CRT and extended the battlefield to all of our institutions. To begin, the president explains that our nation was founded on the ideal that all men are created equal and denounces critical race theories, pernicious and false belief that America is irredeemably racist and a sexist country. The president writes that the malign ideology and critical race theory is now migrating from the fringes of American society and threatens to infect core institutions of country. He cites my original reporting on the Treasury Department, Aragon National Labs, and Sandia Labs. The ambition of the executive order is breathtaking. The president will prohibit federal funds from supporting critical race theory trainings in the federal government, in the military, and by all federal contractors. The point on federal contractors is a major escalation. If a private company wants to work with the U.S. government, they can no longer teach critical race theory anywhere in their offices. This could potentially disrupt CRT programs in half of the Fortune 500. The executive order will also disrupt the flow of money to academia's critical race theory programs. The order stops all federal grants that support CRT, with the potential to cripple hundreds of academic projects moving forward. And this was done on purpose to stop the country from being divided. This is what this is really about. These training programs were teaching people on how to divide the country and how divided we were or are, which we aren't. And Trump now is reversing all of this. Same thing with the 1619 Project, where these individuals out in California, and it was going to spread to other states, they were trying to teach a different history to the children. Why? Because this is how you change a country. Look at Nazi Germany. How did they change the country? They educated the young into their new belief system. That's how they did it. And if you look at the riots today, you can see some of the training right there. Now, with this pandemic, it is completely falling apart. And the numbers are not adding up anymore, because this is no longer a pandemic if you really look at the numbers. Right now, we have seen 48,299 coronavirus cases reported at 37 universities in the United States. You know how many people have been hospitalized? 2. You know how many deaths there were? 0. You're more likely to be killed by a dog than coronavirus in these universities, or even hit by lightning. And think about it. If this is such a deadly disease, why do we need a test to show that we even have it? Because remember, the majority of the people, there are no symptoms. It just goes away. They might have it. They might have the antibodies. Then it goes away. They don't even know they have it. Just like if you have the cold antibodies. Do you know that you have a cold? No, unless it really takes effect and it affects you. The same thing with the coronavirus. So it's so deadly that the only way you will realize they even have anything, if the tests are working properly, is with a test. So is it really that deadly? Is it really that bad? No. And we can see they're running out of propaganda now, because what has happened? Trump, his administration, they have shut down the ability to push people into nursing homes and to push up the death rate. So they can't have the death rate. The hospitals, people have been going around to the hospitals, and most of the people in the hospitals have nothing to do with COVID. So the hospitalization rate is dropping dramatically. All they have left is cases. And with all these cases, hundreds of thousands or even millions, if there's nothing wrong, do we really have a pandemic? No. And remember, all of this could have been shut down from the very beginning when Trump mentioned HCQ in March. But what did the mainstream media do? They gave us fake reports. They gave us the Lancet. They didn't investigate it. We did, and we looked at the numbers. We said, this is not real. This is fake. There's no clinical trials. There's no peer review. There's nothing. Actually, everything with HCQ, and that's hydroxychloroquine, the clinical trials, the peer review, with the Henry Ford Foundation, with the frontline doctors, with doctors in France and many other places, it all shows that it works. And Peter Navarro tweeted this out. More blood on hands of CNN, MSNBC, and others concludes hydroxychloroquine, safe, versatile medicine that has treated hundreds of millions over 7 decades. HCQ should be more widely recommended, prescribed, and promoted to treat the China virus. Remember, when the people find out what really happened, people are going to be angry. We didn't have to go through all this. Actually, I think a lot of people have died from the lockdown, from not being able to run their business. People's lives have been ruined because of all of this, because of a certain group of individuals who don't want to face the music. And here we are today. That's why class action lawsuits are very effective, because for months and months and months, the mainstream media, the corrupt politicians, have been telling us that HCQ is dangerous. It will kill you. We can't let you have it because we're afraid of hoarding. Well, if it's going to kill you, who's going to hoard it? It never made sense. Let's talk about protecting yourself and your home. Burglaries across the country are on the rise. For example, San Francisco has reported a 40.8% increase in burglaries since the shelter-in-place orders began. Don't let yourself or your family become a target. Make sure your house is protected with ultra-bright night solar lights. The night solar lights can be installed virtually anywhere due to the fact that they're solar-powered, zero batteries, and there is no wires to mess with. Night Solar Light is going to give everyone 52% off their own ultra-bright floodlights, plus free shipping included. Go to nightsolarlight.com or click the link below. And now it's all coming back to bite them. How do you destroy the mainstream media? Class action lawsuits? You expose their lies? You expose everything that they've done? Even if they try to delete all the articles and everything, nothing is ever deleted. Remember that. Now, what's very interesting is that all these cases with like George Floyd and Breonna Taylor, it seems that the mainstream media blows these things out of proportion, and then all of a sudden we come to find out that the opposite actually happened. It's not what they've been talking about. So if you look at the case with Breonna Taylor, the media claimed that she was shot during a no-knock warrant. That was false. The media claimed Breonna Taylor was shot in her bed. That was false. The media claimed Breonna Taylor was murdered. That was false. Everything the media and lawyer Ben Crump claimed about the death of Breonna Taylor and the circumstances around her death was based on lies. The officials in Kentucky allowed a mountain of lies to grow until the evidence was finally presented to a grand jury and the Kentucky Attorney General was forced to admit the truth. According to the evidence revealed at a press conference by AG Daniel Cameron, the police executed a search warrant by knocking on the door. Breonna Taylor and her boyfriend Kenneth Walker refused to answer the door after the police identified themselves. The police broke down the door. Kenneth Walker was armed and shot first at the police. The police returned fire, and that's how Breonna Taylor was shot and killed. So that is the true story of what happened. But what is the mainstream media doing? They're pushing their agenda. They're having protests now. And a U-Haul pulled up during the protests, and all of a sudden you saw all these signs, bats, and other paraphernalia being dumped out of the U-Haul. So the question is, who's paying for this? What are they going to do with all those weapons? Why do they have shields? Why do they have all these things? And what are the water bottles really filled with? Because we've seen what happens when they use these water bottles. Sometimes they're filled with gas, sometimes they're frozen, and they throw it at the police. And we can see that their story, their narrative has fallen apart, but they don't care about that because they want the riots. They want their agenda to move forward. But remember, the people are awake now. The people see what's happening. They understand that these are not peaceful protests. And this is why the mainstream media, the corrupt politicians, had to backtrack on calling us conspiracy theorists, that this didn't exist. It was a myth. It was fake. Channels were being taken down. Accounts were being taken down because everyone was spreading conspiracy. Well, it turns out to be true once again. Let's get into the Patriot Intelligence Insider's post here. This is post 4742. And this is a Twitter link to John Solomon. Now, very interestingly, Twitter, they decided to block John Solomon, saying that there's been suspicious activity on his account and his account has limited access now. But this is what the tweet was about. Breaking. Senate report slams Biden's for conflicts of interest, flags possible criminal activity. GOP-led investigation cities evidence of Burisma bribes, suspicious foreign money transfers, and sex trafficking. And his article, and I'll read a little bit about this. It says, Hunter Biden paid non-resident women who were nationals of Russia or other Eastern European countries and who appear to be linked to an Eastern European prostitution or human trafficking ring. So this is not playing out well for Hunter Biden. So what does the Patriot Intelligence Insider say? Political leaders, and this is in brackets in bold, plus family follow with possible ties to sex trafficking. Attacks barrage by media signify what? Sex trafficking, safeguarding women and children, topics that unite all political factions against a common enemy, faith in humanity. Those you are taught to trust the most. Why do they ban, or why do they say it's a conspiracy? Why do they keep pushing that sex trafficking, that pedophilia is all conspiracy theory, that the elite aren't doing this? It's all fake. Because this is one thing the people have in common. This is one thing the people can wrap their head around and unite under. And once they find out who's involved with this, this is going to unite the people. Remember, in the very beginning, we knew that there was going to be treason, there's going to be sedition, but the crimes against humanity, that piece of the puzzle, when that is brought in, and it's being brought in very slowly, that is going to be the linchpin. That is going to be used to show how evil these people are. And if they can do this to women or children or to boys, what else can they do? Treason, sedition would be nothing then. And this is going to unite the people. It doesn't matter what party you're in. It doesn't matter what race you are. We're all part of the human race. We're going to see this and we're going to say, no, this is not right. Now, Hunter Biden, his financial dealings with Ukraine, Russia, and Chinese businesses created a potential criminal financial counterintelligence extortion concerns. And this is coming from the Senate report. The report details a series of wire transfers between Biden and a businessman with extensive ties to the Chinese Communist Party. The report, written by the Senate Homeland Security and Senate Finance Committees, also state that the State Department officials repeatedly raised concerns about Hunter Biden's work for Burisma Holdings. The report asserts that the wire transfers, which total in the millions of dollars, raised concerns about potential conflicts of interest involving Biden, as well as criminal financial counterintelligence extortion concerns. The report says that several transactions involving Biden-controlled firms were flagged for potential criminal financial activity, and they were looking into this, and it had to do with the Russians, it had to do with the Chinese, it had to do with sex trafficking. So let's think about this for a second. We know that Joe Biden was out there telling us that he put pressure on Ukraine through Obama to have the prosecutor removed that was investigating Hunter Biden. So since Trump took office, we had the FBI, CIA, Department of Justice. They spent over, 3 years combined investigating Trump and his family? They searched high and low and couldn't find anything. And this entire time, we had Joe Biden on tape saying he forced a prosecutor to resign because he was investigating Hunter Biden. Now the Senate releases the report, and the mainstream media is spinning the story. Actually, the mainstream media ignored the story the entire time. And what are they going to say? Russia planted this story? Oh, it was Russia? Remember, all of this is about trapping the mainstream media, inflicting pain on the mainstream media, exposing the mainstream media. Because as more information comes out, as they declass more information, it counters the mainstream media narrative. Now, as they lie to cover up their other lies, and they spin the stories, it's going to get worse for them. This is the only way to really expose the mainstream media, is to have them continually lie and spin the stories. Same thing with hydroxychloroquine. You need to expose their lies and what they've done to the people. Because people who've lost their jobs, lost their businesses, or having mental issues because of the lockdowns, they're not going to forget this. They're going to look back in time and say, wait a minute, what did they do? Now, what's very interesting is Don Jr. tweeted this out. Hey, Jake Tapper, you spent a lot of time covering Russia over the 4 years. Now, Hunter Biden got $3.5 million from the wife of the mayor of Moscow, a known Putin associate. So I look forward to your commentary. Isn't that interesting? How they just ignored it, and now they have to face the music, but they're spinning the story. Let's move on to post 4,743. This is all in caps. Crimes against humanity. Well, we had Assange, we had Brennan, we had Guccifer, we had Epstein, and now we have crimes against humanity. All of these are on deck. Moving on to post 4,744. This is justice.gov, and this is the Justice Department unveils proposed Section 230 legislation on behalf of the administration. And let me read a portion of this. Today, on behalf of the Trump administration, the Department of Justice sent draft legislation to Congress to reform Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act. The draft legislation text implements reforms that the Department of Justice deemed necessary in its June recommendations and follows a year-long review of the outdated statute. The legislation also executes Trump's directive from the executive order on preventing online censorship. For too long, Section 230 has provided a shield for online platforms to operate with impunity. Ensuring that the internet is safe, but also vibrant, open and competitive environment is vitally important to America. We therefore urge Congress to make these necessary reforms to Section 230 and to begin to hold online platforms accountable, both when they are unlawfully censoring speech and when they're knowingly facilitating criminal activity online. And that's coming from Bill Barr. So it seems that they're pushing forward this new Section 230 law, and they want Congress to move on it. We'll have to see how this all plays out, because we know before the elections, what are they preparing to do? They're preparing to censor. We'll be talking about that a little bit later. But first, let's go to post 4,745. This is the Inspector General report, and circled in red, it says Hillary Clinton and Foundation, crimes against children. You think something is about to come out about crimes against humanity? We've already seen it with Hunter Biden. We've seen it with Epstein. Do you think something is about to come out against Hillary and others? I do believe so. Let's move on to post 4,746. This says, let the truth be told. Political spying, illegal, that's in brackets illegal, less than 1%. Have faith in humanity. Let's move on to post 4,747. A patriot on the board gave us an older post. This is from February 6, 2020, and it's post 3837. Highlighted in orange, it says, crimes against humanity. The Patriot Intelligence Insider said, bigger than you can imagine. And that is in all caps. I think the message is very clear right now. Crimes against humanity, and certain information is going to be coming out into the public realm. And we're going to start to hear things. Now, yes, the mainstream media is going to spin it. Actually, most likely they won't even report on it. And we're going to start to get definite information, definite facts and truth that are coming out. Remember, DC, they are panicking right now. Those corrupt politicians, the mainstream media, they're doing everything they possibly can to shut this down. Think about what they're doing with the Durham investigation. Think this is why they're using these events. It's not because they're in control. They're trying to use them to shut this down. They're trying to clog the news cycle. Is it working? No. Post 4,749, this is a Twitter link to CBS this morning. And it says, followers of conspiracy group QAnon could have a significant influence in the 2020 election. Tonight's episode of 60 Minutes. And this is a interview with Dustin Nemos talking to a reporter. And down below, it says, everyone has a choice to make against all enemies, foreign and domestic. And what is the mainstream media trying to do? They're trying to say that a conspiracy theory is moving forward and gaining a lot of momentum, and it's growing, which could affect the outcome of the election. Why do you think they're bringing down all these different QAnon accounts, YouTube channels, you name it? Because they know that this cannot be stopped except for censoring. And that brings me to NPR. They put out an article about circuit breakers. And I don't mean the electrical circuit breakers on your house. I'm talking about the circuit breakers that they use in the stock market. You know, when the market starts to dive and the market is falling very, very rapidly, they throw the circuit breaker and it puts a halt to everything. Well, they're making the suggestion that Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and the rest, they should have circuit breakers just like the markets, where if there is something trending or there is a lot of accounts reporting on something the same way, there should be a way to stop all of this. Now, that's very interesting. And they gave examples like Oregon, the fires in Oregon, how information was being spread that they were being lit by arsonists, and how this spread across the web, and it was completely untrue. It was climate change. It was global warming. But was it really untrue? Because when you look at all the different news reports, local news reports in these areas, you find something completely different. Police in Washington arrested a man who was caught setting a brush fire along SR 167. Police arrested a man for arson over Sweet Creek's fire. Police arrested arson suspect in Alameda fire. Arson arrest in Spokane, Washington. Arson arrest in California. Portland police arrest a man for 6 arsons attempts, including using Molotov cocktail. So, is this a conspiracy theory? I don't think so, because there's many, many more news reports. But what they're trying to do is they want to shut down accounts, because once something starts to trend, once something starts to pick up steam, they don't want it out there. They don't want people seeing it. And as we approach the elections, I do believe this is what they're going to do. And this is why I set up the private server, because I think it's not going to be with just Twitter and the rest. I think it's going to be with many other platforms. Even the open platforms, they still can attack. Look what they did with 8chan. They went after the domain name. They went after other corporations that directed the traffic of 8chan, and they shut it down. And they were shut down for many months. So even though like BitChute or the other platforms, they're controlled by maybe some good people, I believe the outside, they might have pressure on the entire platform to shut them down, or they might have pressure to block them in a certain way. And this is why I set up a private server. Yes, can they block it? But I think there's a less of a chance of blocking that than an entire open platform where a lot of people are reporting on it. And even if they do block it, I have an email alert system. So if you sign up for that, just your first name and an email address, I can then email you to let you know where to go to hear the news. And this way it will be completely private. It won't be on an open platform during this period of time. But for right now, I am on all the open platforms. You can see my report for free, or you can join up for the private service. So if anything should happen, you have a place to go and see the videos and hear the reports. And you can come to the X22Report.com site. Let me continue with post 4750. Q gives us WikiLeaks links, and it says, who controls, wields significant influence? R.E. the Clinton D Party. So when you look at these WikiLeaks emails, they have to do with George Soros. I'm not going to read each and every one of them. There's 3 of them here. And they all have to do with Hillary Clinton setting up meetings with George Soros. And it seems that Soros is the money behind a lot of this, or I should say almost all of it. And it doesn't mean that he's the head person. There are people above him. Then it says, who controls, wields significant influence? R.E. the Hussein D Party. And then says different factions of foreign primary control. Who paid Hussein's Harvard Law degree? And I believe this is Khalid al-Mansour. He was raising money for Obama and asked certain individuals also to write letters of recommendation to help him get accepted to Harvard. Khalid al-Mansour is a black Muslim, black nationalist who was a mentor to the founders of the Black Panther Party at the time the party was founded in the 60s. Who financed Hussein's political life? Who is Prince Alwid bin Talal? Well, it seems that al-Mansour was an advisor to one of the world's richest men, which was Saudi Prince Alwid bin Talal. So it seems there's a connection there. Why are Hussein's school records under seal? Now that's very interesting. Why? Because it shows connections. Competing factions, each with a horse in the race, seeking direct White House control, plus U.S. military, plus trillions overseas transfer of U.S. taxpayer funds. All working together, coordinated infiltration, not invasion. Then Q says VJHA. Is that Valerie Jarrett? Huma Abedin? Could be. What happens to U.S. taxpayer funds transferred overseas under guise of aid, military, climate, etc.? That is used for Antifa. It's used for money laundering to bring back to the corrupt politicians. U.S. taxpayer funding the destruction of America. So they create these U.S. taxpayer funds. They transfer them overseas. These funds are then used to destroy the United States from within. So basically, the people of this country are funding the destruction from within, and we don't even know it. Let's move on to post 4,751. It says, all in the family graphic. And it says 4 families, 3 generations. Gives us a link of Brown, Pelosi, Newsom, and Getty. And shows the links between all of these families. Down below it says system of control. Yes, it's all part of their great big deep state family. Post 4,752 gives us John Solomon, and it says, caution, this account is temporarily restricted. We're starting to see this on a lot of accounts. What they're doing is they're censoring. Remember, John Solomon put out the story about Biden. Yes, other agencies have done this also, but it seems that they're pretending there's a glitch in the system and accounts are just being locked out. Post 4,753, a patriot on the boards, gives us a Twitter link to Trump, and this was back in 2015, and it says, Dopey Prince at Alwi Talal wants to control our U.S. politicians with daddy's money. Can't do it when I get elected. Now, remember, Trump tweeted this out December 11th, 2015. What did the Patriot Intelligence Insider just tell us about, or walk us through? About how Hussein got through college. Who was it? Awalid Talal. It's all coming together. And you can see how this is all connected. Now, what's very interesting is that from everything that we've been seeing with Hunter Biden, with the Clintons, with Epstein, it seems that all of this is connected to human child trafficking. It keeps coming up in these investigations, doesn't it? But they keep saying that this is conspiracy theory. It doesn't exist. We're crazy. Then how does this keep popping up? Does that make sense? And I do believe, going all the way back to March, when Trump launched that mission to go after human trafficking, drug trafficking, and the rest, where they rescued a woman, this was announced on purpose. I believe he's going to bring this all together. Looks like crimes against humanity is on deck. Julian Assange is on deck. Treason, sedition is on deck, and they're moving closer and closer together. This is the 15th round. This is the knockout round. They're all panicking, the deep state players. They're scrambling. They don't know what to do. They're not in control. This was planned from the beginning. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.